Hello guys and welcome to this week's episode of the Daily Puzzles. For this week I figured I might change up the format, so here are all puzzles for the following few days. Let's get right to it. For our first puzzle we have King Pursuit. What do I see? Well, first off I see that we can give a safe check using our rook over here. With our knight giving the cover there, our king giving the cover there. That leaves them with the only escape backwards or somewhere forwards, or obviously the interpose which they went for. However, now we can obviously take using our rook, leaving them with fewer options, almost forcing them to come forward. As now under cover from our knight, we can still give the check, forcing them over once more. They obviously can't move over there due to our rook being covered, and they obviously can't move over here due to the pawn. And obviously not down because of said rook. With the king there, that leaves us with another option, being the check with the pawn, but that would simply lead to them moving their king and eventually completely escaping. So instead we are going to box them in using our rook under cover from our pawn. As you can see, this leaves the king with no escapes left, meaning that all we have to do is give a check, as they would not have any way to interpose, meaning that this knight move over here is checkmate. There we go, on to the next one. Our next puzzle is marshalling your attacking forces. So let's see what our attacking forces are going to do. Obviously we have our diagonal bishop over here, currently locking the king in position. Sadly though, we can't simply use our queen, despite us having another attacker in the bishop, because at that point they would simply take our queen and we would have no decent follow-up. However, if we can reinforce our position on the board by adding some additional pressure, we might actually be able to break through. Obviously they move forward, as that prevents our queen from sliding in and under cover from the knight delivering checkmate. But sadly that plan has been foiled. Now however we are going to sacrifice the queen, because this is a very dangerous trap, as most players would take the queen, but by doing so they would open up themselves to the checkmate using the bishop under cover from the knight with support from the other bishop. The PC obviously does not fall for that trick and instead creates a counterattack under cover from their queen on our king, leaving us with no option but to either take back, which we are not going to do, because we still need the queen. So instead we are going to move our king to the side, completely breaking off their attack. This does mean that we lose the queen, but at the same time it does open up our checkmate. Another puzzle done, on to the next one. So the next puzzle is breaching the defensive wall. Let's get right into that one. So what do I see? Well, I see that we can give a check, and after they counter it we could take back, creating a soft fork between the rook and queen. Or instead of moving our knight over there, which can simply be countered by their own rook, we could instead, after they take this, but then we would lose the trade as they have more defensive pieces. So instead we are going to sacrifice the queen. Because, well, let's say they took back, then our rook would take back, they would take back with a pawn, and we would be in. Now, however, they take with the pawn, and we are not going to take the pawn. Instead, we're going for the offense, as they now have less defenders. And once our queen now slides over, or rather our rook slides over, they are forced to take back if they don't want to get too much of a disadvantage. But by doing so, they do open up themselves to a fork, allowing our knight to swoop in with the victory. There we go, on to the next one. Our next puzzle is the Super Grandmaster Trap. Let's get right to it. So what do I see? Well, obviously I see that we have a pawn that could go and advance. However, it would be too slow, as once our pawn gets here they can move their knight out of the way, sacrificing it in the process, but also preventing us from promoting, as their rook would be able to intervene. However, we can make a slightly more pressuring move, being our rook over here, which does threaten the rook, enabling the pawn. They could obviously take our pawn, but if they did that now, then they would simply be giving away their rook and consequently their knight. Now, however, we can move our pawn forward, threatening the promotion. They have nothing that can prevent us from sliding in. So instead they are going to, in a desperate move, slide their knight over, knowing that the promotion is inevitable, knowing that at that point their knight can interpose. So let's do exactly that. But sadly their knight is just too weak of a piece, as now under cover from our own knight, our queen can slide back for the checkmate. So let's do exactly that. And there we go. On to the next one. For our fifth puzzle, we have leap first, checkmate later. So let's start off by giving a safe leap and giving a check, which forces the king to move there or there. Why does it force the king to move? Well, obviously because our queen has all its exits covered and they can't take with the pawn because the pawn is currently pinned to the king by our rook. They obviously won't move over there because at that point, with the knight covering this, that means that our queen sliding over here would be checkmate. Now, however, we have to look for something different. The different thing being to sacrifice the rook. Because obviously, if they slide over there, that would be checkmate, so they are forced to take. But by taking, they have opened up the diagonal, meaning our bishop can now deliver a check. They obviously can't move over there, and that would be checkmate, as I said many times before. Now, however, we are going to sacrifice the bishop and win the queen. Why? Well, because once more, that still forces the king to take back if they don't want to lose on the spot. But by doing so, they have opened up themselves to a weakness from our queen, under cover from our knight, forcing them to move back once more, after which our knight's other square allows our queen to deliver checkmate. On to the sixth puzzle. Our sixth puzzle is Skewer to the rescue, and from what I see already, it's pretty dumb. Because what do I see? Well, obviously, considering the title, I see a skewer from our queen on the king, attacking their queen. So let's do exactly that. And there we go, completely winning position. On to our final puzzle. Our seventh and final puzzle is a beauty of a puzzle, namely being a king that is attacked by a battery and by a rook pawn queen combo. So let's see exactly how this develops. First off, we have a safe check for our pawn under cover from the knight. Because, well, obviously, if they take, they would simply be throwing away their queen. Now we can prep a queen checkmate with the pawn, but luckily for them, they have a counter to that by moving their knight over. And if our queen would now slide over, they would simply take using their knight. So let's remove that defender by using our rook, meaning that they have to deal with the pawn now, because otherwise our queen can simply slide over. And finally, we can win their queen, not using our rook, but instead using our knight, because that gives a check, and together with the pressure from the queen, that is checkmate. There we go. Thanks for watching to this week's puzzles. Let me know in the comments if you like this format or prefer the single video format, and I'll see what I will do with it. Please leave a like, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.